you very much for joining me. Please check out the previous video if you're curious about the information, the build up to the moon being mainly the wonderful phase of the equinox, and knowing how to really stick your self-perception and stick your life together based on the simple principles of light and dark, and what the sun is and what it represents, and how to really consciously connect to yourself in your lifetime based on simple patterns of the sun. And the equinox is a certain relationship between the sun and the planet. So if you want, you can have a look at that video. It's a whopping like 55-minute long video, and it would probably definitely help you a lot more if you are wondering where to next, where to go. I mean, like, what are you doing? What's your drive? What's your direction in life right now? I think that was quite a good video, important video to do, and it was interesting just to touch on some topics. So here we are talking about the new moon happening in the sign of Libra. Now I will tell you what it's next to. So this moon is happening close to Psyche, Makemake, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. So I think, and Eros actually in Virgo as well. So I think it's going to be quite a hard time for some people to really decide and define what is going on. I think that Venus being so very, very close to the Sun, at the same time as being at the end of Virgo there, I just checked, and Mercury as well. I mean, we don't have it all, but the picture is very, very young and fresh, and we do have young love. So this is where it is not just about emotions, this is about a certain type of emotional awkwardness that we feel usually when we're going for a growth spurt. So when we're teenagers and we're shy and we're awkward and we're gentle and fragile, and we find that somebody that we really, really, really love, like say online or wherever, in a community, it's a very, very hard way to feel and to be and to understand who you are. Because I mean, if you fall in love during this time, it's one of the only people that can really understand you or get you on a level. But we do have a short-lived energy in this Mars. So this is especially for the young lovers or the young at heart people that are looking for love. It's not that great at the moment to walk into another story. So this is important, I think. Making a completely different package of your life, doing a completely different thing with no prerequisite is dangerous, and not just dangerous, it is corrupted later. So we've got to be very careful. So for example, if you could imagine your child falls in love with another child, and they're only 16 years old and they want to leave home and get married, it's just hard. Because you know what life is, and you know what, say, for example, parenting is or marriage is, and you don't want to put your child through it. But you can't help it, you can't stop the process. So this is like a rebellious teenager energy, wanting to leave home. So I think that's very, very kind and very good. But at the same time, we've got to really, really know what we can do to neurologically protect ourselves from failure. Also, we would have been out of the equinox territory for quite some time. So the equinox happens on the 21st, and we've got the 27th moon. You see, this is not where judgment is probably at its best, although some people might say it is. We have to be very, very quiet and conscious. Mars is making a trine with the moon. It is also kind of connected to this emotional Jupiter. So I think there's not really enough of that which we really want to do in the end in the picture. So this is like you fall in love with somebody and they really get you, or they like share a taste or share a journey, but then you look at them a little bit longer and you know that like they got to go and they got to do their own thing. So walking away from core or doing something completely different at the moment might be a sign of nervousness. I would check in on that. So also, if you want to completely readdress yourself or your business, you want to erase your story, you want to make a new story, for example, you want to give away all your things and go somewhere. Right now, at this point, although some people will say that Venus-bound, Venus-bound Sun almost, and also, Moon very close to the Sun would naturally mean that the judgment is good if it's in Libra. I don't think so. So at this point, I think that there are lots of little potholes there, and not a lot of the story is recognized. So there needs to be a nice, refreshing and reviving energy that this energy can bring, but don't take it too seriously. So, for example, this is just a fling, or this could be like, as people say, a one night stand or a certain interaction or encounter, but it's not the love of your life necessarily. And that's really hard because the heart is so open during this time. So, like, also, for example, you don't have to throw it all away. Like, you can adjust, but try to keep what you have had going on for a while. So, for example, when it comes to rebranding strategies, changing your look drastically, making any financial or emotional changes in your life, taking something to the next level. So basically here you have to make sure that you are not just floating about like, I'm gonna just try this out. So this is something that sometimes the spirit of tiger would do also. And we definitely, I also have to say, mention Jupiter's opposite to the sun. Jupiter wisdom is opposite to the sun. So this is like a little space where we don't maybe have the full teachings or the wisdom that we really need to navigate the greater consciousness at hand. But we do have something that we've done that could just use a spruce up. And now this is very important also to me, for me to understand later on in this, okay. Context. Okay, so there are certain things you can't base anything on. So for example, there could be somebody goes into your world, comes into your world, and maybe they're only a friend or they're only just a little helper, and you think that's your significant other, but you won't be able to succeed because the person is too unconscious to be able to fulfill that role. Or like you hire somebody in a position that is way beyond their natural ability. So this is very good also for some. I do understand that this could be like a lucky break, and some like TikTokers or YouTubers could get like quite a lot of attention suddenly, and something like that they've just done in a spare of the moment could get a lot of likes or views, or you could get like quite a lot of money for something that you've just imagined like last night. But you see, we have to be very, very sustaining and sustained in that which we do. So we can't just put it to work this way. Like, this is not a working horse. So for example, hiring a new psychologist that is just fresh out of university, like making friends with somebody on the road, like being around, like these kind of goofy, non-formal elements to the sky suggest to me that it's so cool just to have a little bit of perspective, and I think that quite a lot of people are wanting to be also someone else. And yeah, there is a part of a tiger, that wants to be somebody for somebody, especially during Libra. It's like, I want to be the one to hold you, and I want to be the one to know you. So if you have like teenagers online, be very careful. Also, if you yourself feel like a teenager and you fall in love with somebody on social media, or somebody who is irresponsible, or with this Lilith also in Cancer, could be like half your age or twice your age. It's very, very important not to get into these mummy and son or daddy and daughter relationships, because it also could be quite a failure, or it could be just strangely even morally mixed. Not saying that it's wrong, it just could be odd. So I think we have to be very, very kind and helpful to each other, and also the greater world, and support them, whoever needs it. So I think this is one of the greatest, most stunning moons to support a young adult trying hard at their first job. This is a very nice time to be a father or mother to somebody. So for example, you have a new employee and they're just a child. So you just basically usher them through, show them what to do, and then help them on their way. You're not meant to take advantage of a situation. So I think that there's quite a lot of things that are happening underneath the story, as Lilith is very intense and Pallas is looking for wisdom in her. So Pallas Athene is close to Lilith and Cancer. So that means like, yeah, sure, so what? Like, say I'm 70 years old and I fell in love with a 24-year-old woman. So what? That's true. That's true in my story. That's true in my books. So all of that stuff, like, You can't tell me what to do. This is who I am, or like this is the way that all of this stuff. Also, especially with adult and child interaction, or elder and young. Okay, we've got to be very, very conscious and comfortable, and also understand where we don't want to be anymore. So also, if you've been taken by something or somebody, if you've been kept hostage by any kind of person or remark, or just a discomfort, if you've had a disease also, if you've had your body modified in a way that you didn't want it to be modified, if you had strangers in your life taking advantage or taking care of you, but actually taking advantage of you, you have to basically call it quits. So I think this is one of the best times if you have been, for example, like I know this is harsh topic, like molested, as a child, or like as a young person, to come out and tell somebody. Yeah. If you've also been put to work by an older person, a representative, or even just a boss or a manager where you shouldn't have worked, if you've been kept under the rug, and if you've been told what to do, you can come out about it now. So it's very, very nice time to balance things out and turn the tables, as they say. I don't think this is all of it. I don't think that's all of it, but I think for some people there is going to be a need to see the corrupt for what it is, and also the incorruptible and the just for what it is. And for some reason, I'm feeling that the just and the incorruptible, especially during a tiger year, is going to be the fun, youthful, more conscious, and more aware part than the older, withering or secure part. So to me, it's not about age necessarily, but I do definitely feel that there's going to be some age related or elder slash young related question marks in the world today. I think it's also actually about the withering and the rebirthing aspects of yourself. We also have Uranus close to the North Node. So what is mature doesn't necessarily have to be also, so we just recently had, of course, the death of the Queen of England, so like what is relevant and mature and important and, archaic, and, the previous landmark or the previous trophy or the previous association is gone now. This is something that makes me really crazy excited. I mean, like this idea, this concept that the previous, like cocoon, not cocoon, the previous state of consciousness, that everybody accepted for such a long time becomes no longer viable, and it actually is just a shell over something else, so underneath there is a butterfly, wanting to be born. I think that's really cool. So this is not necessarily about you and another person. I don't want to like intimidate any older folks with this information. It's not ageism or anything like that. It's just about reviving the brand new green shoots in that which you are. So let's go to China. China, okay, and the dreamy culture of Chinese medicine and Chinese way of life. I love it. I love this. This is so interesting. I talked a lot about actually China reviving and becoming the next leader in the world for many reasons in the next decades to come. So let's go to China. So why I'm there is let's look at China as a mind maze and what they've become through certain relationship with their earth. And when we look for, a certain type of concept, sometimes, you got to look past it, like, the giant buildings and, the cityscapes, as it's pretty bad out there. But like the way that they've used the philosophy of youth is very interesting. So that never-ending stream of consciousness, that never-ending vitality. Interesting. Chinese medicine, Eastern philosophy. It's so pure at the core. It's so amazing how they really know who they are, and they really know themselves. Like there are some leaders, of that. There are some really amazing teachers when they talk about regeneration and youth and vitality and knowing how to really, really like kick in those genetics and how to activate the body into just greater visions, and yeah, like we look at like say cosmetics, and plastic surgery, and that's really fabulous and famous these days, but it's not about that. It's not just that. We're looking into the actual golden mean, that they were actually golden mean, Libra. Libra is the golden mean. This is what this whole time is about. The concept of this eventually leads to perfection of the golden mean. So yes, fluctuation leads to the golden mean. That's very, very humbling to me and very, very good. So like say Ho Shu Wu is a wonderful herb, you know. There are others like just ginseng and ginger, they're like simple things. There are very, very many different plants that I take also that restore, you know. So I'm not using any fancy creams or, you know, puking food out to keep myself young. I don't hold back. I eat. Girl likes to eat, you know. But like that's the thing is like when you know who you are inside, you know how your body works, you know how your dream or like your vision of life works. It really is no brainer as to how to fix things. So that vitality and yet maturity is something that's very important, I feel. And if we're talking about the tiger year and you know ancient, like say Chinese culture, for example, really got to look into it in a very interesting way in terms of how martial arts, for example, has delivered us. I think some people, you know, that have taken martial arts from this culture of like pushing forward and always going hard. So quite a lot of cultures that come from also other places, you know, they get you to reach maturity through fighting and trying to like grit your teeth through things and making so many mistakes along the way and then getting there in the end anyway in quite a disheveled state. So people, quite a lot of people feel or believe that by their 30s and 40s they're already kind of done and they can't achieve any more. So this is something that I'm going for right now as I'm heading very well towards 40s very soon. It's very, very hard, I think, also for me to understand myself because the way that girls are brought up, say in Russia or New Zealand or, you know, other places that I've lived, you know, they're basically told to subdue themselves and just like wait, you know, like till you like an old woman to really talk, you know, you can't tell me about life till you're old, you know, like just wait, you know. And also like how some people, like so many people really suffer because they don't really know who they are and go back to ageism and authenticity and all of that. But it's not about like the glamour of being youthful and beautiful. Neither is it like the glamour of getting old and then telling other people what to do one day. You know, like it's not about that. It's actually not about either of these concepts. It's just about revival and understanding the sleek, shy style of life or the sleek kind of like unconscious confidence, because we do actually also have Venus in the last few degrees of Virgo there, close to Eros, and Mercury as well, even though it's retrograde. But like you see, like what we're basically trying to do, if you like, I mean, maybe it's worthless for you to hear what I've got to say, but like, see how Asian philosophy, like especially Chinese philosophy, has traced and I suppose explained this element of youthfulness and eternity and grace and consciousness and this elegance that life has. So this is not about superimposed or cosmetic elegance anymore. This is about unconscious elegance and understanding what your body does inside out and using that flowering or like using that natural emotion or that neutral world of regrowth as your body regrows, you know, instead of trying to put yourself into this like mechanical picture and saying this is it, this is it, this is it, I'm here, me. So that's very like Germanic, and it's very Scandinavian to a degree, depends which tribes, because not maybe many people that do it these days, but it's come from there. Eventually, you know, you see how the migration of, never mind, the Western population has developed over time. This kind of need to be like me, mine. This is my trophy. My hair's like this and my face is like this. You know, so all of this need to be kind of like crystallized. You know, so the whole beauty industry, trying to break you girls out. You know, this whole idea of the beauty industry being this crystalline kind of like, oh, on every angle it looks so great thing, you know, like this robotic mechanical way of self-representation, wanting to be somebody and wanting a title and wanting to be seen and wanting to be understood and wanting some respect and some resonance, all of that, wanting respect. This is a big thing for this particular moon and the cycle of the equinox as well. Now we have to understand what that is and how it just cannot be because it's basically unsustainable. It's not conscious anymore. So this idea, I've got the little paper that says I'm this, so this is my little paper, and my little paper will get me anywhere I want to go, you know, so all of this, I deserve this, all of that stuff. Now we have to basically rub this stuff out because it doesn't mean anything anymore. And also quite a lot of people in the growing generations, you don't need a passport, you don't need a signed paper or stamped little thing to get yourself from A to B. Also coming back to the idea of, you know, the queen dying, and, you know, this is kind of like a mathematical equation. Also, it's very compatible with what the moon is going through. It isn't about legitimization. Here, I have a little paper. You know, it's not about being legit. It's not about having kind of like a classed image. You know, it's like, for example, I have made it and now I'm here. You know, this is not what it's about. So that Western perspective of competition and competing against your peers and wanting to be crystallized into this kind of Illuminati image that doesn't change. So like having like adoration and a little crowd and having like constant growth and nothing falling. So constantly feeling like constantly winning. I'm so constant, you know, I'm always going up, always going up. This is not a shame necessarily, but it could be. So, I mean, we're going through the part of the chart which controls elimination process, and sometimes people are eliminated, and that's not just about that. Like, it is part of the karma for Libra to understand that. Elimination, being eliminated, and also sometimes being voiceless and being kind of just like an extra on the movie set, which is absolutely okay with me today. But like, you see, like, there is so much going on in the world that we forget really how to fit within it, and we just want to be there so much that we forget what it takes, you know. So it's like, I'll do anything to join this university, I'll do anything to be next to this man, I want to be this person, I want to be in this photograph, I want to be in this bunch of people, I want to be noticed for what I do, I want everybody to see me, I want everybody to hope for me, and I want everybody to make a nice face when they greet me. So yeah, all of that, making face, veneers, being on the outside, you know, trying so hard to represent oneself in so many different ways and cultures, and, you know, it's just ugly. You know, Venus is coming up to Libra very soon, so we are going into Venus and Libra. Now, this is huge, you guys. And she's going to be, of course, opposition to Jupiter. Like, this is such a huge window for remembrance, understanding what is right and wrong, knowing yourself much better. It's not just about maturity, it's like growing self-esteem, making sense, you know, being well built, being conscious, being healthy, being more in joy. And that idea that the cocoon is more than you has to leave. You know, the idea that how you're represented in society is more important than who you are is really crazy. Like the idea that your makeup and hair is more important than you know, or like what you actually look like. You know, the idea of doing something for another person, being seen for it, being more important than how you really feel about your day. And I mean, this can go on and on. It's like slavery, psychosis, wanting to be noticed and mentioned, having a job at all, having a job, having to be put to work, having to be good girl or good boy for daddy or mommy, making friends with people and changing them maybe seemingly by who you are, and making impressions, you know, putting your paws on other people. You know, if we're talking about England, you know, putting its paws also, I'm sorry, I had to go there, putting your paws on other people's lives, you know, putting your idea in their head, you know, making them see who you are, you know, all of that stuff is excruciating. It's incredibly excruciating now. And then it starts to, I'm sorry, I had to go there, balance out inevitably, and you get to see yourself more. So it's like not actually about making your life a conscious work, you know, necessarily. It's just enjoying your life. Well, that's a really crazy concept for me. I got brought up very differently from this, but like, I mean, is just fascism. You know, there's so much fascism out there. You don't have to wear the swastika to be a fascist, you know. So like, I think also for somebody who's been growing in a fascist environment, being brought up by a fascist mother, I definitely have to say that it takes such a long time to wash it out. You know, like to just say, look, it's okay, I'm just here and it's a beautiful day. You know, like I'm bringing myself up every single day, like this innocence and politeness, you know, of just day-to-day life, and this incredible consciousness, you know, that spreads throughout your body and your daily work or your daily growth, and this incredible opportunity to get to know somebody or get to know yourself, but also like giving it time and hope and space and reason. And the moon is a control symbol in the chart. So when I see the moon in a chart, I know there is a controlled aspect of a person, or there is a controlled part of their personality that lives there. It's like control, you know, like getting rid of that need to control, actually, you know, and getting past this story of winning despite all odds, or becoming that, or doing better than another person, or giving yourself something that nobody else has. It's like, you know, like all of these ideas and all of these groups that are just completely psychotic around the world, and the different types of systems of like reptilian rule and all of that stuff. I mean, to me, honestly, is just about the psychosis of not knowing how to be remembered or treated yet. And I think like also like a lot of children sometimes have that as part of their personality. It's like, if I don't get to be number one, I don't know who I am. You know, if daddy doesn't give me that, I don't know. I don't know. Like, what am I going to be? You know, like, so quite a lot of children out there also have that. And it's not necessarily like about the bloodlines and the royal family anymore. I mean, truly, if we, with all due respect, I think it's just like, gosh, maybe it's in the bones, maybe it's in the body, but I think a lot of us carry it, and this is like almost like a virus. It's like a psychosis of wanting to be more, more than oneself can be, wanting to be greater than another person can achieve or reach, wanting to be beyond what another person can manifest or become, wishing to be wealthier and bigger and better and show everybody up, you know, like all of the showing, and also the showing up that you have to do in order to fulfill these sometimes very plastic and just purely political or social ideas of what happiness is, without actually really paying attention to your life. Whew, so yeah, perfection. You know, Libra talks of perfection, and sometimes people think it is like the frozen image of who you are on the computer, or an ideal, or like click click, you know, it's like the perfect pose, or like the perfect style, or the perfect words you once said or written, and it just makes no difference. Like, also trophyism, fetishism. I was laughing last night thinking about how fascism and fetishism are very close together. They are. Fetishism and fascism are very close together, you know. I don't want to like ruffle your feathers too much with this, but we are talking about the moon and control. And sometimes moon and Libra, not necessarily for everybody, it wants the perfect. I want the perfect wedding. I want the perfect man. You know, like all of this stuff. And it's not just about this. It's like, I can't handle this meal if it's not seasoned to my liking. I can't handle this person if they're not laughing when I'm laughing. I can't handle if this is not to my measure and to my state of reputation, or to my values and upbringing. I can't get over it. And I got to tell you, just a personal little private situation. I used to be very, very ashamed of myself, because I just basically didn't measure up to what my mother thought was good. And then I was also Asperger's and a bit autistic and whatever, you know. But that was really, really difficult for me, you know. And yeah, so like walking around feeling misplaced all the time was really hard as a young adult, and it never really fully changed. Like till I knew a lot of culture, a lot of this, just as so, is just fascism. It's just fascism, and so many industries out there actually based entirely in fascism. Design, certain types of foods, also, certain way people present food or cuisine or fashion, of course, obviously, beauty industry, housing, a lot of works like, things people do at the office, how they have to dress and present is just fascism. And I never really believed it until I really fully recognized it also in myself, so like being brought up in a certain way and having to be just so. And perfectionism doesn't have to be part of your life. So I think that's the hardest truth that we have to understand maybe during this time. Culture, perfectionism, and chauvinism, like in all of these different isms, and misogynism, misogyny, and depression, and lack of direction and lack of point to a life. Sometimes it's just since a person has no clue how to work out of these cycles, and a lot of them are just social ones, and they can't be above it. It's like no matter like how much, like say I talk about natural beauty, I will never be able to be that person just because of the waves of energy that is happening, in the world today. Like sometimes, like no matter how much you want to be somebody or something, it's like there is just so much of that reptiloid consciousness in the world, in the universe, that it's just so hard to break it, like make it, break through. And I do definitely understand, like, and this is a big question. I do definitely understand that sometimes you just got to leave it. You got to leave Babylon. Oh my God, that sounds so spiritual. And we got to basically leave the place where we thought once we'd get some attention or we'd do the best. We've got to take ourselves out of these things because there's just no point. There's just no way of fighting it. It's like there's just no way of telling a narcissist that they're a narcissist. There's just no way. There's just no way of building a bridge and getting over it. It's like you got to wake up, and I mean, I know that for me specifically, nature and living outside of the city and working outside of these collectives and these people's lives has helped me so much. Like I don't have to like piss against the wind, as they say. I got no current to fight. Like you basically, here's your freaking house and your freaking hammock, and you sit down and just enjoy yourself and see what comes out of it. And then being creative online has been a very interesting journey for me also. So I mean, it's up to you how you navigate your life, but I do definitely have to say that quite a lot of it, like quite a lot of that which we are living through, and quite a lot of people in daily jobs and daily tasks and everything, quite a lot of it is just a trap. And it starts to get small and starts to get tight. It's like, here, wear this corset, here, like brush your teeth with this toothpaste, here, try this, here, you got to wear this. If you're going to be on camera, try these lights, try this LED light, that ruins your eyes basically. But, you see, like everybody is just like in a corset still. Like in a way, we're still doing this little dance. And I think that not many of us really wish to identify as anything else, because it's like, well, what if I let go? So, therapies. So if you want, yeah, maybe this would bring you some joy. Levitating therapies, so laying in water and allowing it to just be with you. Maybe floating or just relaxing and just letting your limbs go. Or being with somebody who can just like make you feel relaxed, or having a massage, or just laying on the ground and accepting things. Also accepting yourself and accepting your passage, or how it has been, or being around people that definitely accept you. I think that's one of those things that can really at the moment help a life. And enjoying. Also, this is really hard for some just because we're so structured, and Libra does have that face also. Just enjoy it. You know, just enjoy how things are. If things are or are not done, if they are or are not people that can help you or be a part of your dream, if there is or there isn't a person that can help you in your world, or if there is or there isn't meaning, you know, and just enjoying the warmth and the very, very small intermittent details between words, thoughts, and actions, because it's where Mercury and Venus are. So it's just about the intermittent, subtle ability to see, perceive, and know who we are. And I think that is going to eventually evolve us into more conscious and spiritual people. So it's not just about the built life, the big job. You know, it's about actually the curious, unconscious, and subtle details in everyday life. So I think that's all I got for today. If you like, please see me on Patreon, or book a reading if you want. If you like, check out my channels for whatever. I'll post it in the caption below. And yes, I also have the 2023 Almanac cooking. I have written it. I have made illustrations. And I am now putting it together in an InDesign file. So thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.